So welcome to Introduction to Coding with EDX Online Learning, HTML and CSS. EDX is an online learning platform, and I'll let Zheng talk about that in a bit here. But the main presenter will be Zheng Zhou. He is a web developer and social media coordinator at the Chinese Chamber of Commerce. I myself am the founder and CEO of Digital Synergy and executive director for AABRN. So I'll be more of a moderator today. This cohort here is sponsored by Elevate Hennepin. It is to support entrepreneurs and small business owners in Hennepin County. We do welcome anyone else who is outside of the Hennepin County or the state as well. The only thing is that some of the benefits you won't be qualified for it in terms of having the reimbursement program, the grant, covering up to 75% of up to $1,500 for any business technology related purchase. So you would have to be a Hennepin County business owner to qualify for that program. For the free website, we've made it so that anyone who is in the state of Minnesota, you can get a free domain name if you attend 8 out of the 10 classes. If you want to learn more about the Elevate Tech Essential program, we do have a link here on a PowerPoint slide, and we will post it online, so you should be able to access all the links through the PowerPoint slide. And also, thank you to our partners, AABRN, Digital Synergy, Asian Media Access, and Chinese Chamber of Commerce. So this web development cohort consists of 10 online hybrid workshops. Last week, we did the first one, which is Introduction to Website Development, which we taught about, how website hosting, security, domain name, how all that works, right? The basics of building a website. Like, you need to have some type of goals and objectives first to build your website. Then you need to build your structures. You need to find out which type of platform really works for you. If you sell online or if you just generate leads through your website. So depending on what your goals are, will determine the type of website platform for you to use and the structure of your website. So that was, if anyone missed that class last week, there is a link on the website here, aabrn.org/web development cohort. You can access all these slides and videos there. It's going to be posted on the website. And today's class, again, it's Introduction to Coding with EDX Online Learning Platform. And going through, there's going to be 3 in-person hybrid cohort here. So the next one here will be hands-on hybrid. We'll be sending out an email to see who is willing to come in person, and we'll give you a location for that after this cohort class is done tonight. And then the other 2 hands-on hybrid would be December 6th and December 13th. So for the next class, we plan to create website domain names and hosting for anyone who plans to attend 8 of the 10 classes that we teach here. So we'll be sending out an email as long as you can attend 8 out of 10 classes. We'll continue to help you, guide you to create the website. And that will be next week is when we'll create the website. So you guys will send out an email for you to choose your domain name, and we'll create that all that information, hosting and everything for you, and we will email each one of you for that particular website details. And now I will switch it over to Zheng. He's going to do live demo. Pretty much, this is a workshop, and the platform is, if you are interested in looking and checking out the platform, it's learning.edx.org. So I'll let Zheng take over and introduce himself a little. And if anyone has any questions that going on, just feel free to type into the chat bot, and we will answer as we go. And halfway through, if there's any questions, if anyone needs a break, we can do like a 5-minute break at the halfway mark and then continue on. So Zheng, go ahead. The floors are yours.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, John. Hi everyone, I'm Zheng, or Jay. I'm currently working with Chinese American Chamber of Commerce and helping Asian Media Access as a web developer and social media coordinator. Over the past 3 years, I've focused on our organization's website, server, project website, and social media platforms aimed at raising awareness and establishing stronger connection with the public. Um, it's great to see everyone tonight, and just let me put my screen up here. So this is the platform that we'll be using tonight, and I'll put down the link to the chat. So if anyone want to mirror what I'm teaching tonight, feel free to do so. I will also provide some instruction later to how you can sign up and get into our classes tonight. So before all of that, I would like to start with a icebreaker question. So would you prefer summer or winter? And what's your favorite activity in that season? So that, just kind of remember of this question because we'll use that for our coding exercise a bit later throughout the course. So you could put down in the chat, or if you want to unmute your mic, that's totally fine as well. I'll also put the icebreaker question in the chat. So I think I'll go first. I'm more of a winter person, and I don't really like to be sweaty and sticky all the time. And for the activity doing during this winter is having potlucks with friends around and stay connected with them. So I see some replies in the chat. Heather, summer, enjoy being out with families and friends, right? Winter, sledding, that's great. Rational falls and snow tubing. Ooh, I like hearing that. Daniel, summer, working at the garage. Okay, that's cool. Shannon, summer, outside hanging with friends and family. Yeah, I guess we really want to spend time with friends and family for most of the time. Cool. All right. So just trying to explain a little bit about the importance of understanding HTML and CSS. HTML and CSS are used for web development. They are two types of coding to develop a website. By knowing both of the languages, you will be able to customize your website's content and design with ease. If your website is created by a non-coding platform such as WordPress or Squarespace, you would also learn to communicate with your developer more efficiently, resulting in a website that aligns better with your vision. So hope today's lesson will help you with a basic understanding on HTML and CSS, and so helping you with your online presence and your business website. So back to EDX. Just a quick introduction about EDX. It's an online learning platform founded by Harvard and MIT, where you can learn courses from business to science subjects. So as you can see here, is over 4,000 courses where you can learn and receive a certificate from the website. So as for our cohort today, we'll be learning from the course HTML5 and CSS Fundamental. So once you get into the website, you could just, I'll also leave the topic here. So you can just copy and paste it into this search our 4,000 plus courses. You can just paste the title into it and click on search. And once you've done that, the first appear in the result is the one that we'll be focusing tonight. So just click on that. And here you can just click on enroll. And there's a few information you have to put in here. This full name, email, public username, password, and your country or region. So if you want to skip all this, you could register with your Google account. So it will be saving you a lot of time. I'll just click on this, use my company email. So once you sign up an account, from here, we can just use free version for tonight. So just click on continue. And you'll be able to access the modules that we'll be teaching tonight. So I'll just go through a few topics in here because, for the entire course, you probably need 6 weeks. So we're probably just going to summarize it to 2 hours. So just let me know if you have any questions when I go through each slides, and I'll try my best to help you for understanding it. All right. Get rid of this. Pull my EDX up. So let's start with HTML5. So HTML5, when people say HTML5, they usually mean a bit more than just the 5th version of the hypertext markup language. Modern web pages and web applications are generally composed of at least 3 components. So what people often mean when they say HTML5 is the trio of languages, HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript. We'll not focus on JavaScript tonight, but only the HTML5 and CSS. But for your information, JavaScript is in charge of giving response when you interact with the website. Maybe you click on a button, you want a +1 every time you click on it. It will be done through JavaScript. So for HTML part contains all the content organized into a logical structure. This is the part that an author might be most concerned with: the words, chapter heading, figures, diagrams, etc. While there have been numerous versions of HTML since its inception, our focus in this course is the most recent version, HTML5. HTML5 was developed to provide more powerful and flexible ways for developers to create dynamic web pages. So for easier understanding, HTML5 take care of the content, like all these words are imported using HTML5. Let's see. We have image that can be inserted using HTML5 as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you're talking about this, the distance, or let's see. Yeah, if you're talking about the CSS, it's more of the presentation or style of the page, what it looks like without too much regard for the specific content. We'll be going into more detail on that later in this course. But for now, think of it as the way you might specify a theme in a word processing document, setting fonts, sizes, indentations, and wherever else may apply to what it looks like. So says basically just the look of the page. And for now, we'll focus on HTML5 for our first part. After our second hour, we'll come back to CSS. All right. So what is hypertext? As you know, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So a fundamental key to the World Wide Web is the concept of hypertext. Hypertext is built on the idea of linking information together, not unlike using footnotes, except much easier and more flexible. The idea was to mark up your document with links and define how to break it down into different segments. That's why in 1989, Tim Berners-Lee began to create a definition of HTML hypertext markup language to provide a simple, uniform way to incorporate hyperlinks in a text document. So it's not too far. It's only 1989 since it starts. So here just a graphic of some extra additional information about HTML5, World Wide Web markup language, and the World Wide Web Consortium. So Team envisioned a technology that would facilitate thoroughly interconnected documents. He wanted authors to be able to connect an idea in one document to the source of the idea in another, or connect a statement with the data that backups that statement. Traditionally, this kind of thing was done with footnotes and bibliographies, which can be cumbersome. This information should be easily transferable from one place to another, so that in reading one document, it is easy to assess everything related to it. So he imagined a web with interconnected documents. He used the metaphors of a web to emphasize the importance of connections between documents. It was not just a long list of details, but rather a sea of information stretching out in all directions. The sea of information was navigated by a new tool called the browser. So browser should be very well known. Like this one is Google Chrome, and you have Safari, Microsoft Edge, etc. So these browsers are helping to assess web pages as well as connecting, web to a different web. All right. So putting the M in HTML. So the M in HTML stands for markup. But what does markup really mean? Essentially, it means to annotate a document with extra information. Things like where different sections and paragraphs begin and end, which part is the title, which things should be emphasized, and so on. There are many ways to mark up a document, but HTML borrows a technique for an ancestor language, SGML, standard generalized markup language, which uses angle brackets, less than and greater than, to separate the annotations from the regular text. In HTML, these annotations are called tags. So we'll talk a lot about the tags because that's how we build the websites mostly on. So for example, consider the following chunk of HTML. So see this body tag and H1 tag, P tag, just kind of give you an idea how the HTML file looks like. I'll also pull up the code to just give you a brief idea of how a HTML file looks like. So we have doc type HTML, HTML language, English. We have the head section. These are the head title, and there's also a body tag, etc. We don't have to go through everything here yet. Just kind of give you a brief idea how it looks. So go back to the learning platform. If you eliminated everything in between the angle brackets from the text, for most purposes, it would still read the same. So as you can see here, it's just like bring it over down to here without the text. It'll still read the same if you don't really bother about the text. But once you know that everything in angle brackets is meta information, it leaves a lot of flexibility. You can put a lot of different things in between those brackets without any of it showing up in your finished document. And through your don't usually see directly what's in those angle brackets, they can often have a big effect on what your web page looks like, as well as how it responds and interacts with you. Oh, okay. Sounds good, Erica. What was the course you're learning though? Was it something about website as well? Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, if anyone still needs some direction on how to create a EDX account, just let me know. But for now, we'll just give it a try on some actual coding. So I'll just open up the code pen. So it's just an online app where you could do coding online. So I'll just copy and paste this link into the chat. And once you have the code pen open up, you'll see this screen over here. And the only thing you have to do is click on Start Coding. You don't have to sign up an account. Because if you want to share your code with someone else, that's where you need an account. But otherwise, if you just want to try it by yourself, you can just click on Start Coding. So here we'll start with hello. It says hello HTML, but let's change it a little bit. Let's call it hello world. So we'll just give it a P tag, as P stands for paragraph. So here we can just type in hello world, quotation mark, and we need a closing tag for it as well. So once you type it in, you should be able to see at the bottom where it appears hello world. So I will just give a quick minute and let you guys experience with coding. So just get the code pen open up, and you could just change content to something else, hello EDX or whatever you want. But just give it a try, just putting some content down. And for the editor, you'll be able to see there's 3 different sections. The first one is HTML, the second is CSS, third is JavaScript. So we'll be using the HTML part and CSS for today's class. Now I think you can just get rid of it by clicking and drag. All right. All right. Hope everyone had a chance to code in HTML. And for now, we'll just keep continuing with our course here. So now we'll introduce the elements, tags, and attributes. If you're sitting at a coffee shop next to a table of web developers, you'll probably hear 3 words quite a bit. So we have tags, attributes, and elements. For here, we'll start with elements. Elements are the pieces themselves. For example, a paragraph is an element, or a header is an element. Even the body is an element. Most elements can contain other elements, as the body elements would contain header elements, paragraph elements. In fact, pretty much all the visible elements of the DOM. So going back to the code over here, we can see pretty much every web page you'll see today, you'll be able to find HTML tag, head tag, body tag, and of course this doc type HTML. And consider the figure above. It contains a single HTML element. It turns out this includes within it the entire content of your HTML. If you click on the HTML node, you'll find that it contains two components, a head and a body. Click on each of those will reveal their respective contents. This structure is what we computer scientists call a tree. Any given element is wholly contained inside another element, referred to as the parent element. Not surprisingly, the elements that a given element contains are its child elements. And yes, children of a common parent are often referred to as siblings. So that's just how the coders talks about it. So a head tag is a child elements to the HTML. If you sees it from the HTML is a parent of a body um, element. So just in the example above, the top element is the HTML element, which contains just two elements, the head and body. And the head element contains a little element, and the body contains an H1 element and a P element. So if you're just looking at here, H1 is a child to the body, as well as the P tag is a child element to the body. Right? So that may be a great picture, but how do we represent such a structure in a text file? Well, that's where the text comes in. So here's the text as we already introduced it. Tags are what we use to organize a text file such that it represents a tree of elements that make up the HTML document. Tags are not the elements themselves, rather they are the bits of text you use to tell the computer where an element begins and ends. When you mark up a document, you generally don't want those extra notes that are not really part of the text to be presented to the reader. HTML borrows a technique from another language, the SGML, to provide an easy way of computer to determine which parts are markup and which parts are the content. So here, just a quick glance of all the different texts in a HTML file. So we have HTML body P and emphasize it's EM. So by using less than and greater than as a kind of parenthesis, HTML can indicate the beginning and end of a tag. For example, the presence of a less than tells the browser the next bit is a markup. Pay attention. Whatever the tag does, it applies to the content following the tag. Unless you want that to be the entire rest of the document, you need to indicate where to stop using that tag and do something else. So the tags are again used. Since elements are typically nested within other elements, the browser needs to be able to distinguish between the end of the current tag or the beginning of a new tag. This is done by adding a parenthesis right after the less than to indicate that it's a close tag. To indicate the beginning of and end of a paragraph, you end up with something like this. So as we work on the hello world code, it's looking something like this. Like P tag, you start with a start P tag. This is my first paragraph, and then you close the tag with the parenthesis right here. So the browser sees the letter P and decides a new paragraph starting. It'll be better start a new line and maybe indent it. Then when it sees a P closing tag, it knows that the paragraph it was working on is finished. So it should break the line there before going to whatever is next. So for example, the EM tag is used for element that needs emphasis. The less than and greater indicate that this is a tag and the little bits of text in between tell us what kind of tag it is. To completely describe the element, it needs an open and close tag with everything in between the tags being the content of the element. So I could just use this code to kind of, so em here, close tag. So we can see it's being emphasized down here. So just kind of show you, this is the tag and this is the closing tag. And in between it is the element content. So most tags have open and closed versions, but there are a few strange ones. We'll learn more later on, but one of it is just the image tag. So image tag is for you to attach an image into your HTML file. So you can see this is how the image tag look like. So we have a open tag for image and src, this is so-called a source. So you need to know where the photo is stored at. And the alt is a brief description of your image. So I will, let's see. I'll just copy and paste a image tag here and paste it in the code pen. So as you can see, the image tag doesn't need a close tag, or you could add a parenthesis at the end to just kind of tell the browser that's the end of it. So what it will show is just a plain image attached into your HTML file. So then you should know that the slash at the end of the open tag is sort of a shorthand for a close tag. So you won't see any other indication that this element is now complete. There are also a few tags that don't even use the slash at the end. They just don't have any close tag at all. This works because of the information this tag needs is declared in an attribute. So that's text. And moving to the next, we'll have attributes. So most of what we covered about attributes will come later, but let's introduce the idea briefly. Basically, a given element on your web page can be distinguished by any number of unique or common attributes. You can identify it uniquely with an ID attribute or group it with a class of other elements by setting the class attribute. So as you can see here, attributes in HTML are written inside the opening tag like this. So it's pretty much still the same. It's inside the P opening tag. So ID and class are both of the attributes. So just continue reading here. The paragraph above has a unique identifier, paragraph 1 right here, and is part of the class of regular paragraphs. The latter inside the quotes have no meaning to the browser. They just need to be consistent. They are actually strings of characters, which, as we will soon learn, suggests that if you want to have another paragraph in this class, it has to say regular paragraphs, not regular or regular paragraphs. So it's case sensitive. Whatever you put in here for the class, like regular dash paragraphs, if you want to add a style to it, you have to follow the naming system that you put on the tags. So the best practice is to name these things to increase clarity, consistency, and brevity. So all together now, for the elements, tags, and attributes, one key to understand HTML or any computer language is to be sure that you avoid ambiguity, because computers generally are not good at judgment calls. For example, you could streamline HTML so that whenever you see a p tag, you start a new paragraph, no close tag needed. That might work most of the time, but that would prevent you from nesting one element inside another, as the browser could not know if you meant the new element to be nested or its successor. A human designer might be able to tell what you meant from the context, and knowing that mistakes happen, choose the one she thinks is best suited in that case. A browser, on the other hand, has difficulty with a text like that. So it is helpful to use a close tag that matches the open tag to make things absolutely clear. So you could actually put codes like this into a computer, but computer is definitely not be able to know what you really wanted to do. But from a human reader, you can see no difference, right? So the only difference here is just the p tag. So the p tag means a lot for the computer to read it. So it just tells the render behind saying that this sentence is a paragraph. So on the other hand, you might think that since the browser always knows exactly what tag it is working with, you could provide a short of universe close tag that doesn't specify the type that it's closing. It would know to close the current tag. While that's technically true, it's handy to have the close tag there for people reading the code. But the close tag makes it easier to remember what tag it is closing. We humans can get confused trying to remember that kind of detail. Um, so, for example, there are other ambiguities to consider. For example, when a browser receives a file, sorry, it may know that it's receiving an HTML file, but it wouldn't know which version of HTML is used. That's why the first thing you need to put into a HTML file is a tag to tells you what type of HTML file it is. So here, doc type HTML is the first thing you should put on. But for CodePen, since it's a pre-built render app, you don't really have to declare it as a HTML file. So in other words, the first thing the browser sees is the declaration. This is an HTML file. In case you were wondering, it may seem tedious to put this at the top of every file, but believe me, it used to be worse. So it just kind of tells you before HTML5, this is how they actually document it. And moving down below, everything in HTML. So it may seem redundant, but the next bit tells the browser where the actual HTML code begins using an HTML tag. So going back to the code over here, you can see there's a HTML tag right here, right after the doc type HTML. So what that does is just tells the browser where the website starts. And nearly every HTML document has two parts. The body is the main content of the page, containing text, images, tables, and so on. The head comes before the body, and it is where you put information about the document that does not really go into the body, as known as meta information. Things like what kind of character set the page is using, where the browser can find style tips, and what the title of the page is. And all those things are going into the head tag. So you'll go back to the code here. You'll see there's meta char set. It's just basically telling the browser we're using UTF-8 character set for the web page. There's also meta name. This is just basically telling the size of the web page is by default for 100% scale. And there's also a title document. So if you run this document, if you run this HTML, your name at the tab, for example, like if you're looking at all the tabs on top, if you hover on it, you'll see there's 1.3 elements, tags, and attributes. And this title is what it does. So if you open up, I'll just quickly show it here. Go live. So this is the code that came out. If you're looking at the top, it's so-called the document. If I change it to something like hello world, you'll see the title of the page will be changed as well. Right, so come back here. You may recall the paragraph tag P that we use in the example above. Try inserting a paragraph into the body of your new document. You should end up with something look like this. So see doc type HTML, just telling the page it is a HTML file. And this is where it starts, HTML, and we have head tag, and we have body tag. So you can actually do this into the Copan as well. We can just give it a try. And you'll see this what it shows. As my English teacher used to say, da da da. So yeah, that's basically how the structure of HTML is. So here's just some description of the text that we used. So we have doc type, we have HTML, head, body. I'll not go through that again, but what we want to know here is the H1 to H6. So from the Copan right here, you can see there's a whole collection of H tags all the way up to H6. Why there are 6 rather than 5 or 7, maybe a bit of a mystery. But they are generally used the same way you would use chapter or section heading in a book. So an H1 tag might be used as the title of the document or to indicate the outermost level in a group of nested sections. So you can see if you're using an H1 tag, it will be the biggest among the rest of them. If you're using an H2 tag, it will be slightly smaller, and the H3 is smaller than H2. So if I put an H6 there, oops, H6, testing. Okay, scroll down. So it'll be the smallest among all of them. It's just basically a heading tag where it communicate with the web browser saying that, oh, this is a header. Header 1 is the most important one. So it's can be used for a title, and H2 is less important than H1, and it could be used as a subsection in a article, something like that. So the next thing is the P tag. I think we're already pretty much familiar with it. So P is for paragraph, which is a tag you may use to arrange much of your text information. Depending on the style you're using, text wrapped in a P tag may be indented or have extra vertical white lines before starting. So as you can see here, if you have 2 P tag in the body, you'll see there's a line added to both of the sentences. That's just how the natural of the P tag. It creates a new line before the next element. So these are some texts that will be used during our exercise part, but we are still having more tags, but we will not get really into it, but just kind of let you know there's also a Q tag, which means the quotation. So if I put this quote into the CodePen, you'll see there's a quotation on brevity is beautiful. There's also block quote. This is how it appears if you use that quote. There's also UL and OL. So these are two tags that use for a list of things. There's also, oh, sorry. Yeah, the only difference is that OL is an order list, meaning the elements are in a particular order. And it might be a good idea to number them. And the U in UL stands for unordered. So basically, if you use UL, this is what you get, like unordered list. If you use OL, it will be ordered list. You just create a quick list for your information. So if you use an order list, you'll see there's a bullet point. And if you use order list, you'll see it starts with numbers. And the LI just kind of tells the browser it's a list item. So that will be what is showing. All right. There's some other ones like HR. The HR tag stands for horizontal rule. So it's just having a straight line, horizontal line appearing to the page. Also add it to CodePen and see what's going to happen. So see here, there's a horizontal line there. There's also a BR tag. It stands for a line break. So it basically just add a line break to the content. Testing 1, 2, 3. If I add a BR tag in between, you'll see the 1, 2, 3 will start with at the second line. And we have pre. I think we'll just skip that, but it just stands for pre-formatted text. It doesn't. It's just showing as what the original text of it. So these are some texts that coders use to add designs to a page without CSS help. So let's just move to the image tag and some other tags that will be really helpful. So the image tag is used for attaching a image to your web page. So as I showed earlier, this is how the image tags look like. It's usually just with image tag src is the attribute, and this is the location of the page, the image are stored, and alt is, let's see below. Oh, this says it. Okay, the alt is just when you can't access the image, usually will appear a text underneath. So it just, example tutorial image. Let's just show it right here so we get a better understanding. So since the example.png cannot be found, the text will appear next to a kind of like a image icon there with the text right next to it. So example tutorial image is appearing right next to it. Yeah, that's pretty much an image tag. And next we have the href attribute. So the only attribute we have seen so far in this chapter of hyperlinks is href. Href points to the URL that the link should jump to. Though it is an optional attribute, without it, the A tag will not be a hyperlink because it obviously has no idea where to jump to. So the href attribute takes a URL. This URL can be in the form of a link to an external website, also known as absolute URL. For today, we'll only use the absolute URL because we need to create a button and have a link attached to it, and it will, if you click on it, it will brings you to a different page. So I'll just copy this link and put it in the code pen. So the only thing we have to change is this part and adding a link to it. Let's see. Let's just do Google search. So I'll just copy the link and paste it into in between. So I can just, for that, I need to add a kind of word into it. You just click me for Google search. So as you can see, if you click on the link, it will brings you to google.com. Hold on, let's try it again. Gonna work? Nope. Let's try it on the Visual Studio Code. Oh, it's a style. Close that, go live. You click on it, it will brings me to the Google search. I think it's just CodePen. If you don't have an account, it doesn't let you to go to a different page. But if you are using a code editor, you'll actually be able to access to a different page. So that's pretty much for the HTML. And before going into a coding exercise, I just kind of want to see if you guys have any questions. I know I'm going quite fast, but you could stop me anytime for more clarification and stuff.
And also, we're at the halfway mark, so if anyone needs 5-minute break, let us know before we proceed. If not, then we can just continue.
Yeah, I need a 5-minute.
Okay,
All right.
no problem. So let's come back at 7:05, and we can continue. I will pause the recording and start it back up in a few minutes.
Sounds good. All right. Yeah, thanks, Sean. It was a really good clarification on for the HTML. So I think we will do a code exercise later, but just kind of give you a look of what we will be working later. So basically, just like kind of use the text that we learned and put, make it a website. So here I use H1 tag for the summer activity, and here we have an image tag. Includes a picnic image, and with some P tags, and this is the H2 tag, and we have some order list here as well. Oops, I think I forgot to resume my screen sharing. But yeah, this is how the activity will look like. But we'll save this for the last part. If we don't really have that much time of going through this, I think I'll just code it, and if you guys just to look at it. But for now, we're looking into CSS. So let's see CSS in action. below we see two identical copies of HTML, however styled differently. And here's the HTML. If you're looking at it, they use a P tag, and inside there, there's a quotation tag. So how it looks here, it'll be like this. And if you use CSS for the P tag, you can have more flexibility on the style of the text. So yeah, both these use the exact same HTML. It's the CSS that makes them so different. So let's get started. Right. So there is two different ways how you could add style into a HTML document. The first one is using the style tag. The best practice when working with CSS is to keep it in an external file using the link tag. However, when starting, it is simpler to merely place it directly into the document under edit. So to place CSS directly into an HTML document, we use the style tag. This tag can appear anywhere in an HTML document. However, the most common practice is to place it in the head section, such as this. So basically just adding a style tag into the head. And the other option is using the link tag. While style is convenient, the better practice is to put the CSS into a separate file. One of the key advantages of using a separate file is that the CSS styles can easily be reused between your different .html pages. Many others further divide their CSS up into different files. So for a actual coder, you'll actually see a lot of different CSS file in a website. So what they're doing is using a link like this, having a link tag. Then you'll have you need to declare that relationship for it. So it's a style sheet, and the href is just where the CSS file is located. So here's an example for HTML document here. So if you want to put use the link tag, you'll just show up as something like this. And inside the href, it's just going to be the file name for where the CSS is located. For the next one, we'll have CSS rules for selectors and declarations. At its simplest, this is just a list of rules. Each rule consists of a selector and a declaration. Here's an example. So the P tag is the selector, and then the font size, color, all this CSS code is for declaration. So for the selector, above, the selector is P. When the selector appears and prefixed by any punctuations, then it is assumed to match to an HTML tag. Thus, the P selector will apply the CSS rule to all P tags in the document. And for the declaration part of the CSS rule, opens and closes with curly braces. And between them, you can put any number of property value pairs. So we also have properties and values. There are hundreds of different virtual properties that may be set via CSS, and each property has a range of possible values that it can be set to. Syntactically, property value pairs are simple. Each pair consists of a property followed by a colon, followed by a value, and terminated by a semicolon. So if you're putting a style into it, this is how the code looks like. And for best practice, in the example above, the entire CSS rule is written on one line. This is not uncommon when the declaration of the CSS role only has one property. So if a CSS role has several properties, then it should be written to use one line for property value pairs, for example. So this is how it looks. And I will just have the CodePen open up here. I'll get rid of the hierarchy. I'll just keep the P tag over here so we can see the difference. So you want to add a style to it, we have to use the P selector and give it a declaration. You can put like, let's change the background color. Maybe change it to light blue. Actually, it's not going to work here because it's just a text. Maybe just change the font color to light blue. They're not recognizing light blue. Let's see blue. Okay, so as you can see here, the color is being changed. So that's just how a simple CSS can be added to your HTML file. Oh, Daniel has a question for, what are the popular fonts used on the web pages? I think for the website I'm working, we use Roboto. There's also use of Poppins. There's also sans serif, which is a very common font, but I think depending on what industry you're at, different font might represent better than the other one. So it's hard to tell what's the best, but I think if you're talking about popularity, I think Poppins is one of the very popular font that being used. Just show it Poppins here. So this is the Poppins font lookalike. But there's also a lot. You can just go to Google Font and check it out. All right. And John, if you have any insights that you want to share, feel free to just jump in. All right. Let's get back to more CSS. So we have a few common CSS properties. So we can change the font size. So this is basically how you could change the size of it. So font-size, colon, 18 pixel. So px just a unit. You could use percentage as well. You can use em. These are just units that we could use. There are also line height. You can see if you put on a line height at 0.5, it will just kind of stump it together. And if you want to put a line height of 3, you'll see here as there's some space between the lines. And next we have text align. So it just align the text to your page. So you can see here's some example. If you text align it to the left, you'll see it's sticking on the left side of the border. You put it on the center, it will be in the center. And there's also right, there's also justify. And there's also property like text decoration, where you can add underline. There's none. There's overline. There's underline, overline. You can just use a few at the same time. So there's also a font weight. The font weight can be determined by just text based. So there's normal, there's bold, there's semi bold, or else you could also just give it a number to it. So there's 100 to 900 you can put in. The higher the number, the bolder it will be. There's also font style, which you can give it like, by default it's normal. You can give it as italic. So see, if you give it to your content, it will be showing up italic. There's also font family. There's a few one that you can use: Helvetica, Verdana, or Arial, sans serif. It just, basically just the rule above says the first try the font name Helvetica. If it isn't available, try Verdana, filling that area, and lastly the sans serif. So within the text, we have margin and color. So margin basically just give you a space between an element to an element. So if you put margin 10 pixel, a 10 pixel margin will be applied around all 4 sides of the item. You could also, give number units to the left, top, right, and bottom. And there's also color property can be used to set the text color of an element. There are several possible formats for the value. So as we showed it earlier, you can use like color blue, color transparent, color light gray, etc. You can also use RGB numbers and as well hex code. Right? So we also have Unix. So PX is short for pixel, which is a single dot on the screen. So the text with font size 20 pixel is 20 pixel tall on screen. And here we can also use percentage, and there's rem, there's em, but we'll not get in too much to it. There's also view height and view width. So that's basically just some units that you could use when you give a value to your font size or margins. So here just basically some guidelines for when you use CSS. So the first one is just do not make text too small. It's going to be hard for people to read it. Do not make lines or text too tight. It's helping you with readability as well. And do not use foreground and background colors that are too close to one another. So just make sure there's color contrast. You can see the text is the best, yeah. And then the fourth, do not regularly space text or make it jump around. It just kind of tells you have to be consistent with spacing. And in that sense, people will usually have a better experience when they assess your web page. And there's also some guides for the other properties like font size, line height, color. We don't really have to go into this, but for now, I think we'll work on a quick exercise, coding exercise. Just gonna pull up this real quick and just kind of use where you learn on using each text and just create a page similar to this. So you could use CodePen. And I will also have the page that, sorry, the HTML file that I created here as a reference for all of you. The only thing I think I need to follow up is for the image SRC, the source location. There's a few websites that you can go to get images. So there's Pixabay, there's Pixels, there's Unsplash. So just get an image that you wanted to use. So you put a dot in there for Pixels or Unsplash. So these are 3 websites where we can get free photo. So for example, if I, maybe I like this image, I could just click on right click and you'll be able to find copy image address. So just click on it and copy into the source right here. So if I paste it into it and save it, when I go back there, I should be able to see let me close it. Yep, you should be able to see the images is being attached into this section. So I think I will give 10 minutes for each of you to kind of work on it. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to jump into the chat or just feel free to mute yourself. And I'll pull up my code right here so you can see it. I think we don't need to have a specific topic. It can be, the season that you like the most, and a few activities that a few activities that you will do during that season, or anything like a recipe. You can do something like that as well. But just the main point here is just kind of have some hands-on experience on coding. So I will give 10 minutes for all of you to kind of work on it. And let me know if you guys have any questions.
Does anyone have any questions up to this point?
Yeah, I think I have a question.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm a guy that kind of like to drag and drop, and I learned Dreamweaver before and Flash. So, what's the difference between those, like doing manual coding? But manual coding to me is like very complicated, and I'm not really like all those coding and all those letter and stuff. It makes me really confused. So will that manual coding give you more give you more more ways to edit the page?
Mhm. Yeah, I think of this manual coding as very basic so that it just gets you guys familiarized with the type of codings that you see. Because even if you work with platform CMS content management system like WordPress, you will still kind of need to um, learn how to read basic coding. So when you see something like H1, you already know that's like a header tag, which it will create header tags. Or if you see like image CSRC, then you know that's the command to post an image. So I think this is just more basic HTML. Yeah, writing from scratch is not, um, I guess, time convenient anymore because we
Uh-huh.
have CMS where, if you wanted the content management system will save you so much more time without having to write everything from scratch, right? It's kind of like let's not reinvent the wheel, right? So with the good thing about CMS is that if I need a contact form, I could just install a plugin. If I need some type of function, I just install a plugin. Where HTML, if you were to create that from scratch, it's going to take you hours just to create like a database and connect all the coding, all that stuff. So here, yeah, we don't usually see HTML coding anymore because a lot of time it's not responsive as well unless you have the proper code in it. Whereas a lot of content management system, they come in like an all-in-one package, right? Like it has it's mobile responsive, it adapts to your browsers and everything. It's up to date versus HTML. Yeah, that's it's more very basic coding for basic website. But if you want to do more, then you need more functionality to add on to it. And
Okay.
then you mentioned Dreamweaver. Yeah, that's like a code editor. That's I think it still exists, but I don't use that anymore. I know Jen uses a different type too, but really, um, depending on what type of editor works for you, there's free versions, there's paid versions. So, but if you're more of a um, entrepreneur, small business owner, where you're not looking to become a programmer and coder, then you probably won't need to look into these platforms. But if you want to learn a little bit, then the EDX platform is good to just kind of learn and understand because it has the coding, it has a preview window of the input output of the different codes that you type in there. So it helps you understand how basic coding works.
I got it. So do you know what is more like a page builder for now? What is popular one? I know that Dreamweaver is kind of an old time. So do you know which is more update right now for editor?
Jang, I will let Jang answer that since I don't use code editors as much.
Yeah, I think Visual Studio Code is the one that a lot of the coders use for coding. Let's see, Visual Studio Code right here. Because the strength of it is just that you could there's actually the plugin store where you could install directly into your coding platform, and it also ease your coding experience with all the different plugins. So yeah, I think Visual Studio Code is definitely one of the most popular and easy one to use.
But it's still like manual coding, is that correct?
Right, yeah. But there's plugins that I know you could actually just, I don't know, it's just like an AI. You could just tell them, oh, I need a login page. And I think it's called the black box. And you could just type it in, and the backend will start just generate itself, and it just giving you all the code in a few seconds. Yeah.
So basically right now no one using Dreamweaver.
I think there is, because I remember when I was in school, there's some of the professors still use the Dream. Sorry, what
Weaver.
was the name?
Dreamweaver.
Dreamweaver.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still part of
Dreamweaver.
Adobe,
So,
the Adobe
Yeah,
suite.
it's on Adobe. Yeah, I think Adobe still has it.
mhm.
Yeah, just I kind of use Dreamweaver and Flash when I create my web page back to the old times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you could still use it. It's definitely, I think it might still be supported. Um, it just in terms of how easy it is to use. I think Visual Studio Code is the one of the best for current time. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
And Jing, I saw you posted some of the image websites here. And if you guys don't find the right images to, I would recommend using AI to generate you images to use, because those images aren't copyrighted. A lot of these are free images that you can use, but I tend to kind of fall on AI image generations now. Also, we always talked about how AI is going to take over like a lot of IT jobs. You could basically ask like Chat GPT to write you like a set of code, like everything that we did here. We can basically ask it to write a certain code or certain functions, and AI can write that for us as well. So, there's so many different resources that we can use now and leverage from. But it's about just know how to put everything together to make it work.
I have another question. How do you prevent people copying your image on your website? Let's say I have some product that is belong to my customer, and I post a picture on my website to showing my works, but also I want to prevent the people copying those. And can I protecting my customer intellectual property? So is there any way I can prevent people copying the image? Before I usually make those image as a Flash file, so people cannot copy it because it's a Flash file. So do you have any idea how can I prevent those images?
I think one of the thing you could do is that having a privacy policy page. So you could just state that the images are or cannot be shared or for use for their own purposes. And if anyone does that, they could face legal reaction to it. But otherwise, since it's online, it's on the internet, it's hard to avoid maybe like hackers or people just like random visiting. They just take your image for their own use. So I think the only thing is just like having a page stating the importance of not doing such things might be a great help. But I also realized there's a way. I think it's called WEPBP. It's just a image format that I think when I assess some of the web page, if it's a WEBP format, it doesn't seem like you could download the image. So that might be something that we could look into if you're really interested. But otherwise, having a privacy policy page might help.
Yeah, and also having, just to add on to what Jay mentioned, you had good ideas right there too. And some people like to do watermarking. You can watermark your images. You can disable right clicking, where people can't right click to save an image. Those are some of the ways that you can help prevent that. There are systems that can scan the internet to make sure that no one's not using your images. It's almost like Copyscape, right? Where you can scan certain websites to make sure that no one is using your content as well. So there is systems like that where it can scan the website just to make sure that no one's using it. And if you find someone using it, you can reach out to them and ask them to remove it. So yeah, those are those are all important things to think about, and not just on the user side or the host side, but as people, we tend to forget, and we Google up some image and we download it and we tend to use it on a website, right? So that's a big red flag there, not to do that, because later on, a year later, or you never know when someone's going to reach out and file a lawsuit against you. You may receive an email or like a letter stating that you need to pay X amount of dollars because you stole someone's image. So that's why we encourage you not to use any image that from the Google database, because most of them are copyrighted images. Just make sure that they are free to use for commercial use if you're using it for your business. And then also look into AI to generate you images like ChatGPT or Bing AI. There's so many different AI image generators that you can use now. So I recommend using those. That way you don't have to worry about any lawsuit. Any other questions?
Is there any way you can trace someone use your image?
Yeah, there should be some software apps out there that will scan the internet for that. I have not used that, but I know they're awesome. It's almost like Copyscape. I'm pretty sure if you Google it or ask AI, they can provide some insight on that.
There's also a way to do it as well. Because I know Google search is really powerful. They do have a search by image. And if in a Google search, you can click on the search by image, and you click on that, you can upload the image that you has the copyright. So you could just, maybe I'll just use the CSS brochure photo and just kind of upload it. And once it's uploaded, it kind of trace without like which website has the same photo as the one that uploaded. So from here you can kind of see, oh, Grab.com is using it, so I could kind of track if they're using it, probably without my knowledge. So that's just one of the way that you can do it.
Yeah, and I just asked ChatGPT and it came up with a list of different websites and apps that you can use to track to see if someone's using your image illegally. I think, as Jang mentioned, Google Image. There's one called TinEye, Bing Visual Search, Yandex Images. So there's a list of them where they can search the internet, like what Jen mention to see if someone else is using your image. So I'd say try out ChatGPT or even Googling these questions will the answers are there with the results. Any other questions? Even pertaining to like coding or HTML, CSS. I think the basic thing is just really, if you have any questions in terms of understanding this whole webinar as well, let us know what it is that you don't understand. But this on a basic level or high level view, it's basically we're just showing you, the basic coding of HTML and the output, how it would look like on a web page if you were to put that code into that. So just really basic coding. I think if you have other questions or need to understand more, there is more tutorial on the internet and also on YouTube where it goes into more details into using different platforms and applications to go over the different terminology and functions that we went through today as well.
Yeah, I could also share a few links with you all. So, as a new programmer, since you're using the CodePen or if you're using Visual Studio, HTML and CSS are not the programming language will tell what's going wrong or what's going right. So the only way we could do it is through I wouldn't say it's a third party, but it's just an online tool you can use to validate your coding. So the first one is called the W3C markup validation service. So this one is for the HTML validator. So if you are having a solid website, you could just put the website in and then give it an address, and it will just run at the backend and gives you a result. Or else, if you have the HTML code, you just directly upload it from here. And I will just the one that I was working on, guess just this one, and just click on check. You'll see all this error show up. Just kind of tell you what's going wrong and how you should correct it. And let's see, I'll just put it in the chat. This is HTML validator. And we also have a CSS validator. It's the same thing. It's just that this one is for CSS. Right here. So you could also upload a URL or just your file. Other than that, there's also some platforms you could learn coding from. One of the best one is W3 School. So if you go in there and click on HTML, you'll see all this, tutorials and it's exercises that you can find helpful when you are, as a beginner. And there's also another one. Oh, I'll just put the link in here. There's another one called the NDN Web Docs. So it's just the Mozilla MDN where people can learn HTML, CSS, etc. So if you just hover on the guide, you'll be able to see there's HTML. There's also CSS, JavaScript. So if you're interested in learning more, you could access to these two pages for more information.
Yeah, no, these are all good stuff, Jay. And one other website that you can use is Google Search Console. It's more like an account where you sign up, you add your website into it, and then Google will monitor your website. If you have any issues with traffic, coding, stuff like that, and Google will flag it and will show you on a dashboard. Even if there's like malware on your website, Google will flag and let you know that there's malware on your website that you need to clean and stuff like that. So anyone who has website, I recommend you setting up a Google Search Console. I did add the link to the website to the chat here, so look into that if you don't already have it. And if any other questions, I know we have about 10 minutes left. If not, then we can wrap things up and just go back to the flyer and talk about next class and next steps. Jane, do you have anything else to add?
Not really for now. Just that's what I have. And if you work on the coding exercise just now, you could actually also try out the CSS. And furthermore, if you want to learn more, you can sign up an account at EDX and learn more in details. Other than that, hope this session gives you a basic idea of how HTML and CSS works. And I'm always open for questions, and I will put down my email down here, and you could just email me anytime.
Thanks, Jane. Yeah, and think of HTML and CSS as like the foundation of website building. As Jane mentioned, you need these files in order to have a website to get it to work. And I will just share back my screen here, and we'll just look at the. If you have any questions offline, feel free to email me or Jane. And we'll go back to look at the cohort flyer here and look at the schedule. So the next week we'll be working on site structure, hands-on workshop. So it's going to be hybrid. We'll try to see how many people want to do the in-person first. If there isn't any, then we'll stick with the virtual. But if there is, we'll probably have it hosted at a library conference room, and we'll have laptops there for you all to use as well. So it's really up to you. I think it could be both ways are beneficial. I mean, I think we were to teach in person. One person will be teaching, the other person will be kind of walking around and just helping out with the website. And next week, again, we'll follow up with an email to ask you all to find if you have any domain names that you would like to use, and we can set that up for you. We have our own servers, and we can get the domain name for you as well. If you have your own domain name register that you would like to use, that's fine too. We'll work with you to connect that with our server, host server. And then we'll work with you in terms of what type of templates you're looking at, your objectives, your goals, your visions for your website. We'll work on that all next cohort. So next one will be important. We'll help you build your site structure, in terms of site structures. What I mean is like, your main menus, your sub menus. You want to make sure that everything is structured so it's easy to navigate through your website. It's easy for the search engine robots to crawl through your website, that there's no issue. So that's what we'll be working on next cohort, next class. And then week 4 and 5, WordPress development. 4, 5, and 6 will be on WordPress. We'll teach you how to set up WordPress, basics of it, from using e-commerce functions to lead generation forms and stuff like that. And then week 7 and 8 will be focused on Shopify. We'll bring in some Shopify expert to teach you how to set up Shopify e-commerce, how to set up templates or customize templates. If you are someone who's looking to sell products online, or we recommend Shopify if you're planning to sell more than I'd say a couple hundred products, right? If you're just doing, if you don't have high volume products, WordPress, WooCommerce is perfectly fine. But if you're planning to do just strictly Shopify and you're selling hundreds of products, then you know, we recommend Shopify because it's managed, it has security, hosted by Shopify and everything. So everything's kind of all built in where you don't need to do a lot of manual setups. And in week 9 and 10, we'll wrap it up with hands-on, and we'll try to help you to finish up your website. We know that there's going to be a lot of offline help as well. So you don't, if you can't make it to these workshops, we'll work with you offline. We do have some developers that are part of the team that can help you set up your website as well. So we'll try to make it hands-on and make it interactive where you can go in there. We'll walk you through steps to how to install certain plugins and set up your website. So that's the preview for the next following 7 weeks that we have coming up after tonight. And if anyone missed any class or would like to watch the video again, you can access the link to our website where we will post the videos and presentation on our website. So here's our website. You will see a preview of the YouTube video here. You can download the presentation here. So as we get done with each webinar, we'll post it up for the next week. Any questions?
Yeah, so John, you mentioned about November 22 and 29 being e-commerce, selling products. What about services, professional services?
Yeah, so professional services, I'd say our WordPress would be what we'll focus on. I know some people mentioned they use Wix and other platforms, but if you don't use WordPress, we can still help you in terms of updates. We just wouldn't be able to set up a Wix website for you because that's that's hosted on their own particular server. But we can set up a WordPress website for anyone who provides professional services, right? Where you're just looking to provide information, generate leads. That WordPress will be sufficient, and we'll help you pick out like the right template. So I think once we figure out, it will be like a application form where we'll ask you, you know, what type of business you own, if you have a current website, what type of services, and then we can help you find the best template and help you customize that. So I think a lot of it, to set a proper website, you'll need like a logo, you need images, you need content. So the first class, I know we talked about to stop planning, thinking about what you plan to use for your content. A lot of people that don't already have a website, you know, think about what type of services you plan to have. Think about writing content for each page, like your about page. What do you want to have on your about page, right? For your contact us page, for your services page. So kind of stop preparing that, maybe writing stuff on a Word document for now, using AI to help you generate these content. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Jane, and we can help you with that process as well. And we'll do our best on the next webinar next week to walk you through setting up the website and everything like that too.
All right, very good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? That's pretty much it. If it's like, again, any questions, feel free to message us offline and we can help you out. And we'll see you next week then. Have a good night. Thank you all for joining us tonight.